Welcome in, everybody, to a special nighttime edition of Birds 365 following the Eagles' very first practice of training camp. Johnny Mack already with a good day of work, starting off early. Jay Mack, how you doing this Wednesday evening, brother?
Doing well. Getting through it. Already lost my voice. I don't know why. I wasn't screaming or anything, but hopefully it holds up.
Your reintroduction to the team and the players and the smelly locker room and all that crap. Your voice is scratchy.
No, we're not. Yeah, we're not in the locker room yet. That doesn't happen unfortunately, it doesn't happen until the week before the regular season. That was a COVID loss. Once they got us out for COVID, they kept us out as long as possible. So no longer have locker room access until the week before the regular season.
Yeah, so we'll see about that. Johnny Mack, it was an exciting day, though, in the Eagles ether. There was all sorts of clips and videos and everything posted up. And everybody's talking about everything. But before we get into all that, John, I do want to give you a chance to just some of your first takeaways today. It's always good to get, I think, back into the mix. There's always different observations on day one as compared to once you're doing it and used to it, and it's the run-of-the-mill week that you have. What were your first observations, your first takeaways from the Eagles kicking off training camp and your first day down at the NovaCare Complex today?
Well, I think the most positive aspect was August came early for Jihad Campbell. Yeah. We talked about that a lot in the dead period. Vic had said he doesn't expect him to be practicing until August, and we'll talk to Vic tomorrow. I'll certainly be asked that question, but he was limited, but he worked in 7-on-7s, he worked on team drills. Maybe Vic was saying full because he's not fully cleared, still on sort of a rep count as part of his rehab process, but it was a bit of a surprise, but you don't get many surprises with this team. A bit of a surprise that he did as much as he did do on the first day of camp, which I think is a very positive step forward, certainly for Jihad Campbell. And you talk about the video. I put up a 6-second video of Jihad Campbell, and boy, that I was joking at camp. I said, that tells me football's back, because I got so many scouting reports off 6 seconds of Jihad Campbell in a individual drill. It's quite the amusing development, to say the least.
Well, it is a very positive development for him, John. I know we're not going to be able to predict when he'll be back yet, and there's obviously a lot more camp to go, but you saw a lot more out of him today than you expected. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I thought he'd work in individual drills because he did, not fully in the spring, but he was doing a little bit here and there, working off to the side a little bit. So I did expect him to be in individual drills. Did not expect him to be in team drills this early. So, and he was in there for quite a bit. With Smile Munden on the second team. Didn't take any first team reps, but that'll come as he gets closer to being fully cleared.
Yeah, it's very exciting news with Jihad Campbell out there, much ahead of schedule. John, how did he look in the eye test? I know you're not going to see too much, obviously, but the eye test does exist, and he was lined up now with a bunch of NFL players as compared to last time we watched him play football. Really, it was versus college guys. How did he look out there? What did the eye test see on Jihad Campbell? And we'll talk more about him all throughout the show.
Yeah, he showed off his sort of elite skills, athleticism on one play, which was a drag route by Danny Gray, who's like a 4.33 guy. So Danny can really run, and Jihad was right there, underneath route, crossing route. And Tanner McKee was a little bit off with the throw, a little bit behind Gray. So he instead of put it out in front, it was on his back shoulder. And Jihad was right there and broke it up. So, when you can run with somebody like that, that's pretty impressive for a linebacker. So that was probably the highlights, I would say, when he was out there. And I think most notable is after practice, he was working off to the side with Jeremiah Washburn, which goes into the hybrid sort of role that the Eagles envision at some point, whether that happens early or late in his rookie season or even his second season. But so they're already starting that cross training to get him to be as versatile as possible. And that was kind of the story, because all of a sudden when the Eagles are in their 5-man front defense, so with 5 defensive linemen, Cooper DeJean's playing safety. We're like, fixing the place, man. Whew.
We got all sorts of things, John, to talk about. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Keely Ringo. We'll talk about all those defensive battles. We'll talk about any other takeaways. Jalen Hurts spoke, obviously. So we'll talk all about all of those things. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here today. Dominique, Flexing and Stepping, Bruce Banner's in here, A-Team. We got our night crowd in here, John. So a little bit of a different crowd in here when you have a nighttime show. I think our morning guys will still watch the morning edition, or at least rewatch this in the morning. But it's great to see everybody in here. Hit that like button for us. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. We've had great viewership on JAKIB all today, and we can't thank you enough for making it happen for us all off season. And camp is officially underway. John, another question for you on Jihad Campbell. Now, if he gets back ahead of schedule, I know you don't like to play what ifs, but let me just give you a scenario. If he's ready to go, I don't know, week 1, week 4, somewhere in that early half of the season, who's in trouble in terms of a playing time perspective? Because many are speculating that it would be Nakobe Dean, and I could see that. I mean, Jihad and Bond, I know you can use them all over the place, but does that limit how much you use Nakobe Dean? How do you see that, John, in terms of Jihad Campbell getting on the field? And obviously he gets on, somebody's got to come off.
No, well, I don't think Nakobe's going to be healthy early in the season. So I think from that standpoint, it'll take care of himself. But no, it's Trotter. It's, Trot has taken every first team rep since the spring, and that included today at off-ball linebacker was Zach Bond. So he's the guy who is in a position to take advantage of these injuries, or at least getting the opportunity to take advantage of these off-season surgeries to Nakobe and Jihad Campbell. Nakobe, yeah, I mean, people can speculate all they want. When he's back, he's back. He's the middle linebacker. And, I guess you could spin it as, is he going to be the same guy coming off a serious injury? That to me is more of a health thing. But if he's the same player he was, and Vic has said it pretty consistently, he's the middle linebacker. So when he's healthy, he's going to be the middle linebacker.
I think it gets a little fuzzy there, because if people envision that, which I agree, that's how I envisioned it as well. Obviously, Nakobe Dean had a very good year last year when he was healthy. Then where does Jihad line up? Is it simply a pass rush down role? Is it the NASCAR? I know we've talked about some of those other packages that they can run, but I think people are looking for at least somewhat level of consistency on Jihad. Would it just be, a unique role early in his career in year 1 here, or how do you see that part of it playing out?
Yeah, I think it'd be a sub-package role, more tilted towards third downs and rushing the passer. And a lot of that depends on how effective the edge rushers are rushing. If it becomes an issue, it's easier to pull that trigger. Otherwise, again, it doesn't have to be immediate. There's this sense of immediate gratification. If not, it'll come to fruition in 2026 with Jihad Campbell. Ultimately, the goal is to get Bond and Campbell out there together, but that's probably after Nakobe leaves.
Yeah,
after this season.
I got a weird feeling that Jihad Campbell is going to be much better than people expect, much quicker. I know I'm probably jumping steps. I'm skipping steps. You always say that. I'm aware. I'm probably doing it.
Well, you got Jalix.
That guy looks like a football player, Johnny Mac.
Yeah. Well, 6 second video, 6 second scouting report. Yeah, well, I mean, clearly he's very talented. But I think people forget how well Jakobi played last year. And I think people forget how long it took Jakobi to get to the level where he played like he did last year. Like, you know, in some ways, I think Quinyon and Cooper's ability to play right away, um, like impacted people in maybe a little bit of a negative fashion. If you want, it's not negative because it's like, who cares? But unrealistic, I guess is the right word. It usually takes rookies a little bit of time, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Not to say it can't be done. You just saw it was done last year. But the odds of that continuing with every rookie, without some of those growing pains, you just saw a whole group, leave the organization that took incremental steps and ended up being really good players. Whether it was Josh Sweat, Milt Williams, guys like that taking those incremental steps, which is the more common way for young players.
Yeah, no doubt about it. John Mack, great signs there. We'll see what ends up happening with it. It's a good problem to have, but as John used to say, the word problem still exists in there. So we'll see, obviously, how that all shakes out. John, a lot did happen today, even outside of Jihad. I do think he was the top story of the day. So I'm happy we got to start off the show talking about him. We did get the update on Nakobe Dean, who will start on the PUP list. Basically the only one. The injury updates from practice, John, were Jalen Carter listed with a shoulder, and then the new offensive guard in the Gardner-Johnson trade that we acquired, Kenyon Green. Both of those two guys did not practice today. I don't think that means that much, but other than that, they were not out there. And then Cam Jurgens was a limited participant due to the offseason back surgery that we had. So all good on that front, basically, but no concern about Jalen, obviously, and Kenyon Green and Cam Jurgens, just short, early camp stuff. But any takeaways on Nakobe, John? Anything you learned today that you can share? I think people are, wondering about that. They feel like he's further along in the process, but, I don't know where you think or what you know, or if there's any information you can share with us about Nakobe Dean on a timeline, or at least a projected timeline for that.
No, as I mentioned, it's a very significant injury. He feels fine, but that doesn't mean he's healthy. That doesn't mean it's healed properly.
Right.
It needs a certain amount of time to heal. So that is the bigger issue than everybody's seen him working out. There's been video, there's been clips. He looks great. He looks fine. He feels fine. But that's an injury that needs a certain amount of time to heal, or you're at risk of having another issue. And the Eagles are going to be cautious with it. To me, is it not week 1? Is it week 8 or before that? Is still the sense that I get, and how quickly, because some people take 12 months to get back from this injury.
Yeah, I know.
He got hurt in January. That would be the entire season. So I do think he's ahead, and I do think things are going well, but that doesn't mean he can be back for week 1, even though he feels pretty good. And I use ACLs, which are a different injury, but guys who have ACLs, they feel fine 4 months out, but it's not healed. So, you have to wait that 9-month period. And what Kobe suffered is pretty significant. So, the hope is to have him back at some point this season. And it's one of the reasons that Jihad Campbell is here. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons he's here.
Yep, I agree with that. So we'll see how that goes. John, let's zoom out a little bit, talk about some of the overall, I don't want to call it vibe, but, John, they all had this approach, and you've been preparing us for it on Birds 365, where they're not going to be talking about repeat, but still.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks to Jordan Mailata. He put it, he hammered it home.
Well, I think everybody though had a similar at least approach about it, and I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like the Jalen Hurts mindset is permeating the locker room completely, which is a great thing. But I think it's a show of his leadership. It's a different style of leadership, but when everybody's bought in, and AJ Brown's talking about sacrificing the self stats for the big picture, and Jalen's answering the questions the way he does, it feels like the Eagles locker room has the right mentality coming into the season. I don't know who you give credit to for it. I give credit to Nick and Jalen Hurts. That's who I give credit to for it. But what did you think of that? And did you have a similar takeaway or a different takeaway about the players who spoke and just kind of the mentality as this team gets back to work?
Well, I give Nick the credit for setting the tone, but he's not the first to go about it this way. You hear very similar things, and when I wrote about Nick coming into the season, you heard great tennis players at Wimbledon saying similar things. The number one golfer in the world saying similar things. If you go back to any successful, Michael Jordan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they all have a familiar mindset of, staying in the moment, not worrying about the future. Jalen had a great quote. He had a great T-shirt quote to end his press conference. I don't know if I have the transcript yet, but it's about, it's about staying in the moment. So, and here it is. The past is behind us and the future is too far away. So, but he's not the first to be that way. I mean, that is common with people that are successful. Because if you look back, and Nick explained it, if you look back, it might give you some confidence and say, well, we're pretty good. We won the Super Bowl, but then your eye is off the ball in the present. And then obviously the future, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Nobody knows who's going to stay healthy, who's going to get hurt, how certain guys, even if you have a bunch of guys like Jalen Hurts and Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson and AJ Brown who can verbalize it, and Saquon spoke today as well, can verbalize it. That doesn't mean everybody can do it. I remember talking to Jordan during the collapse of the 2023 season, and he was like, we're right there each and every week. And then bang, the season's over. They had the right mindset, but they couldn't climb themselves out of it because the defense sucked. So, a lot goes into it. And that's what a lot goes into winning a Super Bowl. And that's why Nick takes the philosophy, and Andy had it. And really it came from Andy when you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Not repeat, not sustain success. Just put yourself in a position that if everything lines up correctly, you can take advantage of it. That's the goal of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think look, you talk about how they're often it's a big locker room. There's a lot of people in there, and not everybody shares the burden of leadership, John, that Jalen and Nick, I think, share to a full extent. And then when you win, when you get over the hump, I think it's a lot easier, or at least a lot more tangible for people to buy into what you're selling. You know what I mean? When you're Nick and you're Jalen and you've never won, maybe you do have internal doubt, or I think it's human nature for maybe some other guys in the locker room to say, hey, are we doing this right? Is that the right mindset? Is that the right approach? Should we do it this way? And now that I think they've won, I think that there's a more of a buy-in, at least it seems to me. I know it's still early in camp, but there's at least easier for the whole 53 to buy in to what the leaders are selling. And I think you're seeing that even the way Jordan Mailata approached the conference. I thought AJ Brown's comments were interesting. I don't know what you think of that, but I think that's something that's happening here too, for sure.
Yeah, well, I say it all the time. I'd rather have the good players, but yeah, I do think they have a good culture. But I'd rather have, like I said, some of these guys were every bit as great during the collapse. Great players, like they were the same players, but they couldn't stop that collapse.
Right.
So I always I always lean towards talent first. And then the other stuff, if you can create the culture the Eagles have created, and it is a very good culture compared to their peers, then it's just a bonus. But Chip was that culture over scheme, and really it's, maybe culture over scheme, but not culture over talent.
Well, no, it's the NFL. You can't win without talent. There's no doubt about that. But I believe the Eagles have checked that box. They got a lot of talent. Now their culture is another accompanying thing. John, any other overall key, overarching takeaways of just the approach here? The focus on the competition obviously still remains. We just talked about the prove it all over again mentality that they're taking on, which I believe is the right one. Any other overall takeaways just from the mindset of the team as they approach the start of training camp on really a short offseason, John? These guys have been busy. The offseason was short. They got PR. They got TV deals. They got Greece with Jordan. With Jordan for Jalen. They've had a lot of shit happen in this offseason, and they're back to it now, back to the grind for them. Any other takeaways that you had from that perspective?
In fact, Nick had stayed away from the book deals and that kind of stuff. So I think that's a positive. People go on vacation every year. And if you have a lot of money, you tend to go to Greece or somewhere like that. So I don't think that changes very much from year to year. A bunch of guys talked about the ring ceremony, and that happened a little bit later than it was supposed to happen. So that was a little bit weird from their perspective, because they had to get right back into it. Saquon mentioned that. But I mean, those are typical distractions of any Super Bowl winner, and they're real. And that's, part of the reason a couple guys mentioned handling success today. We talked about that. I brought that up. Everybody expects to handle adversity. Success, it's like, oh, yeah, we won. But then I kind of mentioned, I talked to Howie today about how young this defense is. It's like, when you're putting together this roster, did that pop into your head at some point? And we talked about this edge rushing situation, which we got to talk about that because Jordan Mailata made a heck of a comparison.
Yeah, we're going to get there for sure.
With which is putting way too much pressure on Jalen Hunt. And I don't think Jordan wasn't doing it obviously in a bad way. But yeah, I'm very surprised they came into this training camp and without more help on the edge. But we're going to see how it shakes out. And they brought in another defensive lineman today. So clearly they knew they've signed 3 defensive front people over the past week. So clearly they knew coming in they haven't had enough up front, but they're not bringing in difference makers. They're bringing in guys who might be a little bit better than what they had.
Yeah, no doubt about it. John, let's go to that edge rusher room, and you brought up the comp there with Jordan Mailata. Speaking about Jalen Hunt, holy shit, John! If I'm skipping steps on Jalen Hunt, what is Jordan Mailata doing? He's talking about him being a special player, compared him to Micah Parsons from a burst perspective. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of people are going to pick up on that and said he compared him to Micah Parsons, which he really didn't. He compared some of his traits to Micah Parsons, and you mentioned the burst.
Right.
So I hope you picked it up. I hope other people pick it up, but I fear people are going to, aggregators are going to say, Jordan Mailata compared Jalen Hunt to Micah Parsons. And, Mike is a 3-time All-Pro. He's played 4 seasons. He's never had less than 12 sacks. The only reason he had 12 last year is because he missed a month. That's a big-time player. And Jalen Hunt played 300-plus snaps in his rookie season, if you include the playoffs. And he showed a lot of positive signs. But you might be comparing him to the best pass rusher in football, certainly in, top 5.
Right.
Um, so I hope everybody figures out, and you did, so I'm glad. That's positive for me, because I as soon as he said it, I was like, "Oh, boy." Um, it was one of those moments. But I'm glad. I'm happy that you picked up on that. He
Do
wasn't
you
comparing the
see what
players.
do
He was
you see what he sees? Do you like when you see Jay looks up? I mean, do you think he has that? I'm not gonna say he's gonna be Micah Parsons. Again, yeah. But do you see traits like that would translate for him being, really a star edge rusher at some point in this league? Because I mean, you've talked about the edge all offseason, John. You kind of need him to be a star, or at least pretty close to it this year, unless they're banking on Jihad Campbell, playing on the edge and being really good at that, which I don't really know what their plans are for that. Do you see any of that in Jalen Hunt?
Well, he's a great athlete. There's no question about that. That's why he got picked where he got picked, coming from a small school like Houston Christian. You know, so that part of it. What was most interesting to me about last year is when Vic was forced to play him, he liked him more as a run defender than a pass rusher, which kind of blew my mind.
Right.
Because we had been told that, this is a developmental pass rusher, and Vic goes in, no, he's pretty good at setting the edge. So Vic sees shit that other people don't see, which I think is a positive if you get him to, the skill set and the talent, the technique and the handwork to get him as a pass rusher.
Yeah, because if he can reach that ceiling with the run stopping ability, you're going to have a pretty damn good edge rusher.
Yeah. So, I think he's got a huge upside, but similar to what I said with Jihad, it's probably going to take some time. I don't think he's going to be a star this year. And to me, it's funny Jordan said that, because Azeez Ojulari got more first team reps than I expected today. Jalik still got more, but so I'm not even sure if Vic is like he's going to be the guy fully yet. I think the hope is, but I still think Azeez Ojulari's got a shot to play more, depending on how things go this summer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing I would ask there is, do you think there's any chance they're thinking about Jihad Campbell to just put him on the edge? I mean, we talk about the edge room; it's light. I don't know. Jihad Campbell's a pretty big dude, Johnny, man. He looked big. I saw him this weekend at the NASCAR. My boy Gary took a photo of him next to N'Kobe and Big Dom. I mean, this guy's towering over Big Dom. I'm like, this guy's a big dude, man. Like, I feel like he could go off the edge. Now, that doesn't mean that's what their plans are for him, but do you think that's at all possible?
Well, it's similar to, that's the guy people compared to Micah, because they're similar from a standpoint of, Jihad Campbell arrived at Alabama as an edge rusher, actually, not a linebacker. But they had so many edge rushers. They had Will Anderson, they had Dallas Turner. Both ended up being, top picks in the NFL draft. And they wanted to get him on the field, so they moved him to off ball. He's 6'3-ish, a little bit under 6'3", 235-ish. Maybe he's up to 240 because they wanted him to gain weight. So it depends. Yeah, he's big compared to N'Kobe. Is he big compared to an edge rusher, a typical edge rusher? No. Is he big going against Jordan Mailata or Lane Johnson? No. Arm length was the big problem, which it always is. That was the problem with Micah Parsons. That's why people looked at him as an off-ball. For people that don't know, most teams scouted him as an off-ball linebacker,
right,
coming out of Penn State, because his arms were not lengthy enough and didn't matter for him. So you can overcome that kind of stuff. It's going to be interesting because, like I said, he was working with Jeremiah Washburn, who was the edge rushing coach after practice. So clearly the Eagles are starting to ramp things up, whether it's Cooper playing safety. Mac McWilliams started outside in the spring. Now he's playing slot. So they're ramping up with some of these guys with versatility, the cross training already, which is a little bit earlier than Vic typically does that. So, that's an indication they want to find a sub package role for him, at least early on. Jihad Campbell, when he's ready. What that looks like, Vic's a bad scientist, man. Like I said, he's using Jalix Hunt as a run support player and taking him off the field on third down.
I know. Vic, you never know what you're going to get. But, John, the one thing that stands out about what you just said is he's doing that cross-training a lot earlier than he did it last year, which maybe gives credence to the Zach Bond comment of the offseason that it feels like we're starting so much further ahead of where we started last year as a defensive unit. Now, I know they've lost the players they had, but they got a lot of players in here, and maybe they are further along this year as they approach camp. Obviously, now year 2 of Fangio, so it would make sense.
Yeah, Zach talked today, too. He was not at the podium. He's kind of off to the side. I asked him about that because he said it again today about being ahead. And I asked him, I said, well, is that for you guys who've been here? Because you got a lot of guys who haven't been here.
Right.
And he did say, yeah, he's talking about the guys who had been here. And he even said, because he got a lot of Jihad Campbell questions. And one of the questions he got was, a lot of people compare you two as similar players. And he was asked about those similarities between him and Jihad. And Zach is another very honest guy. Sometimes he says awkward stuff. And he was like, I haven't seen him play. I don't know. He's like, I don't know. I haven't seen him play.
Right.
So, what he's saying is farther ahead. He's talking about the guys who've been there, like him, like himself.
Right.
Which makes
Cooper,
sense.
Quinion, yeah.
Yeah.
But they are bringing back a lot of that, some of that, I think a lot of the core. So I think that will be a good thing. And I think it's good news that Vic is already cross-training young guys. I mean, you said Mac McWilliams, who started on the outside. Now he's back to the inside where we thought he was going to be. That's going to lead us into the cornerback talk, John, which we're going to have plenty of. I'm going to go on a little tangent, all right, before I get it to you. I mean, I'm getting like, what are people saying about Keely Ringo? The guy gets beat by A.J. Brown once in practice, and everybody's like, we need a cornerback. We need a corner. I'm like, what the hell are we talking about here, John? What'd you see from Keely Ringo today?
Yeah, it was a tough day, but I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I'm like,
was it tough though? Was it as bad as people were saying? More than one bad play?
Yeah, there were like three plays that most of us do play of the day, and first, second, and third was probably against Keely Ringo.
Oh,
he got beat on a go route by Terrace Marshall. In 7-on-7s. He got beat. The AJ play was great. He high pointed it, sort of back shoulder-ish.
I can't really get mad at a cornerback for getting beat by AJ freaking Brown, for crying out loud.
And then on a comeback route, he got beat by Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall's a good player, but
yeah, I like that AJ comment about Terrace Marshall.
I don't know if he's going to make the team, but if they need a receiver.
Comment about him?
Yeah. I was at AJ's thing.
I thought that was a good comment. He's going to make the room uncomfortable. That's a great thing.
They just like Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith. I don't. Howie's got a tough time giving up on his picks. He does. He just
Terrace
does.
Marshall's got to be better than both of those guys put together. And you're telling me those guys are still getting the reps?
Yeah, those guys are making the team.
Oh gosh. Does it look like they should make the team at least?
I mean, it's one freaking day. I don't see any way Johnny Wilson's not making this team. Anaya Smith, a little bit of movement back and forth. By the way, they did punt returns today. No sign of Avery Williams, who was healthy. So he's not going to be the punt returner. What the hell is he here for? He's not saving his spot.
Maybe he could get back there soon. Is there any reason why he wouldn't have been back there?
No, he was working the same time when the punt returners were taking reps. He was working with the punt coverage unit.
Are they playing some skullduggery with the media? And media's in town. Don't put Avery Williams back there. I doubt it, but geez.
Yeah, there's no skullduggery involving Avery Williams. So I'm like, I'm starting to think Anias is going to be the punt returner. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, the cornerback battle though, John. What else did you see? Because well, I don't know. Are you were confident in Ringo? Have you wavered even one?
Well, the good part, as you mentioned, AJ's high pointing the football. The good part is that he's in a position to make plays and he's not making the plays. So it's not like bad coverage. And then when he gets to the catch point, he just kind of falls apart, which isn't good. But it's easier to fix a guy who's good in coverage and is not finishing than it is a guy you can't cover.
Right.
So, it wasn't like the comeback route that Marshall got him. I was freaking great catch by Marshall. Just, tore the football out of the air. He's a very big receiver. And Kelly was right there. And the AJ, same thing. He's right there. And then he sort of misjudged the go route, but he was right there. But, Adoree Jackson knows how to play. So if it continues to go that way,
right.
It's going to open a door for him. Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a good, just like people want to hear the good stuff and they want to overemphasize that. Well, you can only report what you see, and the high points of the practice from an offensive standpoint were basically all throws at Kelee Ringo.
Yeah. Sounds like Terrace Marshall is pretty good. How did Ringo bounce back from it, John? Did he approach it with the right? Did he hang his head or what? Did Bob Brown in the chat says?
No, he's not hanging his head.
Did Ringo fight back after getting beat, or did he hang his head? Bob Brown, thank you for the chat.
I mean, it's practice. So often
but I think that's kind of Bob's point. Like, he's going to get beat. It's practice. This is where you learn. This is where you iron those things out.
Yeah, but I mean, then you're off the field. So what do you mean by fight back? It's not like a game where you're having consistent playing time. You rep, you're on, you're off.
Yeah.
There was no evidence of him hanging his head or being depressed or giving signs that he was shaking. And like I said, I think the good part is he was in a position to make the plays. He just didn't make the plays.
We'll see how it develops. John, how about the rest of the cornerbacks? You mentioned McWilliams. Cooper was kind of all over the place today. He started at safety a little bit in base. Coop was all over the place. How did Quinion look? Give us the update on the rest of the cornerback room outside of Kelee Ringo.
Yeah, I didn't notice Quinion at all, which is a good thing with a corner.
Yeah, right.
Cooper, it was Cooper. He's at safety, then he's a slot. Next play, that's interesting. He's playing. The Vic's going to do some shit with him this year, man. I think Eagles fans are going to see things they haven't seen before when it comes to versatility of players, or haven't seen in a long time. Cooper might play safety on first down, move to the slot, and then play safety again on third down, or vice versa, slot safety. Might play outside corner if things continue to go poorly there. So, but Vic had hinted in the spring, and I agree with him. You could have a bigger impact playing safety. in the middle of the field versus just being outside on an island. So I think all of a sudden safety's in the conversation with Cooper DeJean. And obviously he's going to be a 3-down player. So for now, we're just talking about it in the base defense, which is, I think everybody was hyper-focused with 2 corners and he would play the other corner. Well, it looks like, no, he's going to play safety. And then when you're out of the base defense, then Sidney Brown or Drew McCuba will come in.
Right. We'll see what ends up happening with all that. Cooper moving all over the place, though, is pretty good. Any you leaning any one way or the other on Coop? I know it's only one day, but I do think it opens up, as you mentioned, some of the other opportunities for him. I think another thing you've said all off season, it will depend on the players around him. If the safeties suck, they'll probably put him at safety. If the other corners suck, they'll probably keep him at corner. I think that's probably indicative of what will happen. But any thought from you on where Cooper could end up, or is he just a versatile Swiss Army knife all year?
Well, no, he's not going to. Yeah, he's not going to play one position. He's going to play multiple positions. And again, because he's going to be a 3-down player, so that means he's either going to be on the field when they're in the base defense, either playing corner or safety, and more likely now it's going to be safety. And like I said, Vic had hinted that before. But it wasn't me. That was Vic saying it depends on others. He said the same thing with Zach Bond as well.
Right.
Like if Jihad Campbell's starting, that means Zach Bond's playing middle linebacker. If N'Kobe's back and starting, Zach will stay at will linebacker. Trotter, it's up in the air. I think Trotter will play middle linebacker, but not 100%. So it depends on the others. Same thing with Cooper. It depends on the others.
Boy, there was a lot of unknowns still in this defense, which I think is a good thing, but it can go 2 ways.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I've been talking about the past couple of days. I mean, I think everybody's way too comfortable with this defense. And by the way, Jalen Carter didn't practice today. Boy, that defensive front looks bad when he's not out there. I mean, all of a sudden.
I mean, they weren't in pads. So what do you mean when you say that? They just don't look the part, the eye tag. What's not clicking? Is it the Johnny Mac stigma in the head of like, holy shit? What are you seeing, John? Explain what you mean.
Well, yeah, it's practice. But yeah, it's holy shit. Look who's on the field. That's what it is. Holy shit. It's Jordan Davis is fine at nose tackle, but they ran a lot of 5-man fronts today, way more 5-man fronts that they usually do. And I'm like, why are they running so much 5-man? And I'm thinking, is that to get Cooper at safety? Maybe. But then I said, oh, yeah, Carter's not there. Right. So they don't feel comfortable with 4 without Carter.
Which is a problem.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm looking out there and it's Jordan Davis and the 4 eyes are Moro Jomo and Thomas Booker. And your edge rushers are Nolan Smith and Alex Hunt. I'm going, holy fucking shit. Jalen Carter better stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's out, but that's every team. When you have a player like that.
Yeah, right.
But
certainly
still,
part of it.
At the end of the day, it's holy shit. He better be out there.
Well, we're going to get to the defensive line here because I do want to talk about Jordan Davis. He showed up chiseled, Johnny Mac. Jordan Davis, oh, he looks like a new dude. We'll get to that. John, safety. All right, the Eagles experimented, obviously, again today with different safety combinations next to Reed Blankenship. Sidney Brown, Drew McCuba, both getting some first-team reps today. I think this competition is one that could last for a little bit here in the offseason and then through training camp, John, as we lead up to the NFL season. What did you see today with the safeties?
Obviously, the most notable is Cooper playing safety, which took us all by surprise, I think. And, from there, no surprise, they defaulted to Sidney Brown first when Cooper was in the slot, and then Drew McCuba rotated in. So they both got some first team reps, but Cindy got more. But that was expected. And that competition, I think that competition is going to go into August, deep in August, before they make a decision there. Ultimately, I think it's pretty clear they want Makuba to be there, want him to win it, but you got to do it as a rookie. You'd say, well, this is the style of safety I want, but he's got to be able to do it. So I think it's his job to lose, but he's got to go win the job.
Yeah, it's going to take a second to get there. I'm trying to think, John, back to last year. How quickly did he put in Quinion at cornerback too? It was like right away, wasn't it, in camp? Like there was never I don't remember Quinion ever being a tackle.
It was interesting in camp. Quinion played a lot of slot last year in camp when Cooper was out.
Oh,
I think people forget that.
Yeah, that's right.
But he was playing a lot. And it came to the point of, we all know he's going to play outside corner. So why waste time? And that's how it worked out. But, sometimes when guys aren't there, you try people at other, and Cooper wasn't practicing. So he played a lot of slot early in last year's camp. Really, probably, almost the whole camp he played a lot of slot.
We'll see when I guess we'll see when Makuba takes it over. But I think Makuba's going to be the starter. I'm just not the biggest Sidney Brown guy, and I don't know if his skill set works with Vic Fangio. But they did spend a 3rd-round pick on him, John. That was before Vic got here. But I don't know. Maybe they like the player more than I like him. You think he has a chance to win the job, or where would you put that if you had to put a number on it?
Well, I did my pre-camp 53 prediction. I predicted they trade him when he loses the job, and that's where they get their edge rusher. I think player for player, if you think about, all right, Sidney's no longer a fit here. Go find an edge rusher on the final year of his rookie deal and make one of those player for player trades. That was a shot in the dark trying to hit a home run, but I could see that happening. Because I think he's a good player. I just don't think he's a fit for this defensive scheme. So I think if you go find somebody who uses a box safety more, I think they'd be thrilled to have him. I just don't think that's here.
Yeah, me neither. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Did anything on Makuba did today jump out at you? Anything good or bad?
No, they were nothing good, nothing bad. Both of them, I would say. Just solid days. No obvious mistakes. No splash plays either.
Right.
I was. It's funny you say that because I was thinking about it. On Twitter, doom scrolling and looking at other camp news, and there's 60-yard touchdowns all over the place, and I'm reading at different camps, and I'm like, this shit never happens here. It's like, the Eagles are very fundamentally sound to the point where, they're very ball security conscious to the point of they don't take a lot of chances in practice, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
I mean, they won the Super Bowl, so I guess it's a good thing. But I'm looking all over the place and I see splash play, splash play, splash. I see a pass break up by a linebacker and I'm like writing it down. Oh, there's a splash.
Are you saying that the Eagles camp is not as fun as the camps around the league, John?
Well, I think they do things in a different way. I think and it makes sense. And Nick talks about it. He made that comment, which sounds like common sense. It is common sense, but how do you get better at football? You practice football. How do you get better at ball security? You practice ball security. There's always been this mentality, and I was taught that mentality. You try things in practice, and you'll hear it. AJ said it today. We got to try things in practice. The Eagles don't really try things in practice. They're like, no, let's take care of the football. And I think that carries over. It certainly has carried over.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with John. Let's move to that defensive line. First question on it is Jalen Carter okay?
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah. He's no, it's not a long-term injury. I've been assured of that. So
just something tingling right now in camp, and they're keeping him off the field, basically.
Yeah, they're going to be very cautious with anybody. Although, while I bring that up, Saquon, I think, touched it more today than he did last season. I'm like, what's going on? I'm joking, obviously.
No, but I did read that somewhere else that Saquon Barkley, there's no signs of slowing that workload down.
My God, to the point. Well, actually, it's funny because he barely did anything last year until the regular season. And today it was like, what are they doing? Now, nobody's hitting them. Yeah, who cares? But I just thought it was interesting. Ton of
Jeffrey
touches.
Lurie's making sure he wasn't golfing too much this offseason, man.
Ton of touches today for Saquon. More than any day at last year's camp, I would say.
Well, remember the team.
Well, I'll check it. You know what? I'll check with Elliott because I'll check with him tomorrow. Because I don't remember him touching the ball that much last year.
We'll see. We'll get to the offensive side too, and to talk a little bit more about the offensive side. I know we talked about the receivers, or at least some of the backup receivers, but sticking over here on the defensive line, John, outside of Jalen Carter, obviously he did not practice. Did Ty Robinson make any push today? Did you see anything from that youngster out there?
Not on the field, but pre-practice, I put up a picture of
I saw your pic.
Because he had the huge guns out because it was a nice day. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to pick on people, but somebody replied back and said, "Who's bigger, him or Mailata?" I'm like, what are we? Jordan Mailata is 6'8", 380. Ty's like 6'5", big dude, like 290, somewhere in that range. I mean, so to that person, yeah, Jordan Mailata is bigger. But I told you Ty's going to impress people because he looks like a bodybuilder, and that just impresses people. We'll see if it translates. I don't know. He's a good athlete too. He had great testing numbers, but I haven't seen that translate to the field yet.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. John, anything from Moro Jomo? I'm high on my guy Moro Jomo coming into the year. How did he look today?
Well, like I said, Eagles people are going to get bored with me, but because I brought up Elliott. So, because Elliott is now famous for quarterback camp statistics, which are what they are. So he did do his stats. Jalen was 14 of 15, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's no splash plays. It's
all
ball security. Yeah. So, to that same degree, defensive line, there's not much going on this early in the process. Again, the pads are not on. They're blowing plays dead. So it's not like you get a good feel for guys destroying the pocket, because if they do destroy the pocket, A, they're probably doing something they're not supposed to do, and B, they're going to blow the whistle anyway because they don't want the quarterback touched.
Yeah, right. So not a lot happening on the defensive line, but enough to see that, boy, we need Jalen Carter on the football field.
Well, that's more of just seeing who's out there, and you go, oh, boy. That's all that is. But, again, you can't replace players like Jalen Carter. So it's not necessarily their fault. But I just, when he's not out there, it's something you notice.
Good stuff there. John, real quick, let's move to the offensive side. We are going to take a commercial break. We got an hour number 2 coming up, a good first hour here, breaking down everything that happened at training camp today. Appreciate all of our great people for being in here right now on the show. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop your comments in the chat or down below if you're listening after. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. A nighttime show. We will have another nighttime show tomorrow night, and then we'll be back in our normal spot on Friday morning. And then next week, I believe 4 of the 5 days next week will be a night show. So get used to the night shows through training.
Oh, it's going to be a grind, people.
It is. It is going to be a grind. There's no doubt about it. John, offensive side, go to Jalen Hurts. We didn't talk about him. He's QB1. We got to talk about him. 14 of 15, Elliott put it out. 0 picks, 0 touchdowns. Not a whole lot, but what did you take away from Jalen's day, including his comments, including the videos that floated around of him taken in the field after practice, hours after practice? There's a clip floating around of him walking around the field barefoot. I don't know if that's just Jalen's way of getting locked in and ready and taking in the moment. What did you see from Jalen Hurts today, day 1 of camp?
Well, I didn't see that stuff. And I don't pay much attention to it. But on the field, I said dating back to the spring, looks very comfortable. I think he's going to have a big season. That's my prediction. I think he's going to play better than he played last season. He's just comfortable in everything he's doing. I mentioned he's never been a good practice player. He had a great practice spring. Early today, again, they're not doing much, but solid, ball's not hitting the ground. Ball's coming out. Ball's going where it's supposed to go. I don't even worry about Jalen Hurts. Because it's been that type of spring and now summer for him. It's just very comfortable is the word I would use.
Good stuff there. We'll talk more about it. Let's get to our commercial break. We got offensive talk when we come back. I will get to all of our super chats right now. Interesting question here. Not a super chat, but Don, I love you and I appreciate you. He said, did John see anything different in the way practice was run compared to last season's day 1? It's an interesting question.
No, but I am going to ask Nick about that. I tried to get in. It's like 1,000 people there today. It's awful. First day.
Is that just because it's day 1, it dies down as you move along, or what?
Yeah, there's usually because there's random people that come in that like a day here, a day there. Right. So it's always more crowded, but it thins out as it goes on. So it becomes, at some point I'm going to ask him, because he said they're making a couple of tweaks at practice. I didn't see anything today that was different. But he claims there's going to be a few things. Last year, he's done it before. I mean, last year when they're having problems early with turnovers, they started their circuits, as they like to call them, tackling as well. They were having some trouble. So they had tackling circuits and ball security circuits, and they've continued those. So he'll tweak things every now and again, but I didn't notice anything different today, but he mentioned he's going to do a few things a little bit differently. So at some point I'm going to ask him that question. And we'll see where it goes. And I tried to ask him today, but didn't get it in because there are about 75 people lobbing questions.
Yeah, well, John, Super Bowl champs, there might be more of that now this year. Let's get to our super chats, then we'll get to our break. Let's go to the top here. B Pumper, first super chat of the day. Brian, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Zander, lay off of Project 89. Open your eyes. We got the next coming of Jimmy Graham.
Pumper still got to move in the tight end. Still playing wide receiver, Pump. But he's going to be here.
I don't think he's anywhere close to Jimmy Graham either. Kimberly Sirico says, great to see all my fave peeps. Love the time slot. Kimberly will be here again tomorrow night. Thank you for the super chat. Hope you're doing well. Jason A-Team checking in. What up, A-Team? He says, I think the whole point is we have no idea who is playing where. He wants to disguise his defense as much as possible. So many options, it seems. A-Team, I would agree with that point, or at least what you're trying to say. It looks like that to me too. John, what do you say?
Yeah, certainly that's the goal with Campbell long term, and Vaughn to a certain extent, and Cooper plays into that as well. But I mean, it's got to do with the players. The players have the ability to play different positions, which has not been the case really probably since Malcolm around here, who did a lot of different things. But it's a trend across the league, positionalist football and the back seven. A lot of teams have these types of players. And the Eagles seem to be going in that direction more with Vic Fangio. But you got to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I always say you can line up anybody anywhere. Can they do it effectively?
Yeah.
You know, anybody. You can line up anybody. You can line up.
I feel like they got good guys in the room. I don't have any proof of that yet. I mean, obviously, a lot of them are unproven players, but I do feel like they got some pretty good athletes and guys that would be able to fill that role. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But I think they all possess the upside or the potential, if you will, to get to that point.
Reed Blankenship said that during OTAs. We got to ask the question about Cooper playing different positions, and he was joking, and obviously they're very close friends. He was joking, and he said, "It's OTAs. They might put me at edge rusher tomorrow." It's like, who cares? So the point is, the Eagles are accumulating players that have the ability to play different positions.
Doesn't mean they will.
Doesn't mean they will, but Vic will take advantage of it. Like long term, yeah, I think Campbell's going to play different positions. I think Cooper's going to play different positions this year. I don't know if Jihad is, but eventually he will. So they're trying to add players that have that versatility. My point just popped up on my timeline. Jordan Addison just caught a 60-yard touchdown.
I don't know if you're seeing any of that, John, all off season. We'll see. Brian Pump again. What up, Pump? He says, I see two dudes on the panel with clown makeup and squeaky red noses. Sid Vicious would have the elderly doing the twist by week 3. Boomers.
I don't know. Pumper doesn't like when he's wrong, and he's wrong a lot. So he's got to be angry a lot of the time.
That's why I think he's trying.
Pumper, it's not my fault that they're playing Johnny Wilson at wide receiver. You know, I think a lot of people conflate that.
He likes Sidney Brown a lot too.
I like Sidney a lot. I don't think he's a fit for this particular defensive scheme. I like him a lot in a different scheme, but the Eagles aren't playing a different scheme. So
we'll see what ends up happening there. Pump, appreciate your super chats as always, even when you're wrong, my friend. Bearded Willie checks in. What's up, Bearded? He says, what about my latest praise for Hunt? Sorry if I missed you guys talking about it. We did talk about it, but John, your response to Bearded, I know you had thoughts on that praise.
Yeah, well, I'm glad because Zander brought up, like, he didn't compare him to Micah Parsons. He said he's got similar burst to Micah Parsons. And I was feared because, I was there when he said it. And I just said, oh boy, as soon as he said it. Because I think there's going to be a million aggregators saying he compared him to Micah Parsons. And obviously that's not fair. But I mean, it was a nice thing for Jordan to say, that's for sure. And I don't think he's lying. I think he, occasionally in practice, he's got trouble with his burst. And, that might be the best left tackle in football. So that's pretty positive comment from Jordan Mailata.
Yep, no doubt about it. Bearded Willie, thank you for the super chat, brother. I think you sent us one more in. He did. Bearded again. Sorry, J Mac, but I kind of enjoy hearing from you in the evening. That's not a shot at Sills. His afternoon slot's perfect, too. Bearded, thank you, brother. We're going to be here a little bit in the afternoons, just through training.
You got to be an early riser. Not everyone.
We are a morning show though at heart. All right, so we are.
Yeah.
We will still be a morning show, but we do appreciate everybody for being here. We got a great crowd in here for a nightcap edition of Birds 365. I appreciate everybody being in here. I want to take a quick commercial break, and then there's something I want to run by John, and I'm going to use something that John has used, not against him, but to make a point about why I'm confident in some other players. So we'll do that.
By the way, I just saw Jackson Dart's pick 6 the other way, going the other way at Giants camp. I want to see some of this.
Johnny Mack is jealous. I'm sensing some jealousy, man. Let's keep going.
All over my timeline. All over.
I saw a lot of it too, but I appreciate everybody for being here. We'll be right back, everybody, in 3 minutes on Birds 365.